Hello and welcome to another tutorial from Walt Design. In this one we're going to be looking at something a little bit different. We're going to look at how you can find jobs using some career websites. Now obviously it's best and easiest if you know someone at the company that you're looking to apply to, or even better yet, that someone contacts you and says, hey, we think you might be a good fit for this job. Unfortunately, that does not happen a lot of times. And there are a lot of jobs that are just posted out there on job boards, and employers likewise go to these job boards looking to see potential candidates that have uploaded their resumes. So we're going to look at how to use these types of job boards where you can post your resume, and what we're going to do is try to make it a little bit easier for employers or people who have been hired by the employers to help find the right candidates for those open positions. Often you will hear about recruiters, sometimes referred to as a headhunter, trying to contact you. This is that third-party person which has been hired by an employer to try to locate qualified personnel. They'll weed through the masses, as they say, and get between 2 and 10 results usually. They will return these results to the candidate and final interviews will be done, and if they like them at the final interview, then an offer will be made. What I have found is that a lot of these recruiters will go onto a job board and do searches. Obviously, those websites have kept hidden how they return those results for different people, but we can take a look based upon experiences and other things that are going on that'll help make it so that you will be more likely to be found. For this example, we'll be looking at Monster, but there are a lot that work fairly similar. I've already signed in, and I'm going to choose to manage my resumes. The first thing I want to point out is that your resume generally has one of two major types of statuses: visible and private. Only the visible resumes can be found by someone who is looking for a potential candidate. If your resume is set to private, no one can find you. I'm going to select the resume. I'm going to choose to modify and select settings. Often you'll get to put a resume name. I like to have something fairly general. In this particular one, the first thing that comes up is my resume setting, and here you can see the three particular options that Monster gives you. The second most important thing to look at is your contact information. You want to make sure that your email address is correct. What I recommend doing is selecting your email address and sending yourself a test email. From my personal experience as someone who has been responsible for interviewing and recommending hires, one of the problems I've noticed is people have an incorrect email address. Maybe it's an old email address that they used to use but they don't check anymore. I'll also want to check and make sure my address is correct, especially if I might have moved recently, and that my phone number is correct. The reason for updating the address is because some people only look for local candidates. Your phone number, obviously, so you want to make sure that people have a good way of connecting to you. Your summary is just a simple place where you can say what type of job you're looking for. You can give a brief overview of yourself. I recommend keeping this short and simple. Most of the time, I do not see people taking a look at that. The parts that you really want to focus on are the next three sections. First is your experience. Your experience is going to be very important because this is where a lot of the words, when they type in for their searches, are going to be found and where they're weighted from. Now, a lot of times you're told to avoid using industry-specific terms. Because you're allowed to put a lot of information into these sections, I recommend that you be very verbose. Make sure that you use key terms and phrases that might be specific in your industry. Make sure you're using technical terms as well as general terms, anytime that is relevant to your actual experience. This way, when people go searching for you, they can find those key terms that might be appropriate. I'll choose to edit an example one. When I edit an experience or I add a new one, I have the option of putting in my employer, my job title, These things are very important. These are things that potential employers will check for accuracy to see if you're lying on your resume, so make sure you're accurate there. And then you have a place for a description. Now you'll notice that the description is very small. What I like to do is to copy this description, paste it into an application like Microsoft Word. Now inside Microsoft Word, I can do things like check for potential spelling mistakes. I can check for potential grammar errors. I can see all of my text and edit it easily. Then I can copy this information and paste it back into the appropriate field. If the resume posting website allows for a section on skills, this is an excellent place to make sure you list any potential skills that you might have. These are things, once again, that you want to make sure that you've actually performed on the job and that you do have familiarity with. This skills section is also something that I believe would be used by most career sites if a recruiter or employer is performing a search to hopefully try to find that information. Make sure the time period that you work there is accurate, and once you're done making all your changes, click on Save Changes. Double check all of your job postings. Make sure that all the jobs that you say that you have experience with are both accurate and relevant to any potential job that you'd be interested in. The next thing to check is education. These allow you to state your degree, the school, and when you attended. Some places will allow you to list courses, concentrations. Potentially you can also post a description for listing things such as what the degree was in, what your major field of study was. You want to make sure that you only post degrees that you actually completed, and make sure that you have the right degree, major, and dates attended. This is one of the most common lies that people put on resumes, and therefore is also one of the ones that employers will most specifically check for. Finally, you want to check for your skills, if they have a place to input your skills. Monster allows you to put in a skill. When you click on Edit, you can see the skill name and a level, and they give you 3 potential levels. Once you're done, click on Save. Make sure you list anything that you might have a skill in that's relevant to the position that you are going to be searching for. This might make your resume seem very long and verbose. That is okay. In almost 100% of the times that I have gotten a call or an email from a recruiter or an employer, they usually will ask me for a resume in a Word document. So what I recommend is that you have a very broad-based but very inclusive to all your experience resume posted on the job posting site, and then have one or more specific resumes depending upon what job you get contacted for. References may be a good thing for you, especially if you get called upon to quickly have a list of those references. The one thing that you find a lot of people don't mention, however, and what I found to be very unique, is that whenever I make an update to my resume, I start noticing that more people find me and more people contact me. I've noticed this whenever I make my updates. What this leads me to believe is that when you make an update, your resume is given more weight by the search algorithms when people try searching for something, because they're looking for what they refer to as an active seeker. So they see you updating your resume, you start getting more phone calls, more information coming to you. So if you have a situation where you are actively seeking employment, what I recommend is that you modify some small part of your resume every about 2 weeks. This way your resume is constantly being updated and is going to stay higher in those search results. You don't need to do this on a daily basis, but once every week to every other week will probably be more than sufficient to help keep your name higher in the search results if you have the skills, the education, and the experience that is needed. I hope you find this information relevant and helpful to you. and good luck with your job search.